Hi, and good afternoon. In this video, I want to go over from the comfort of my office here in Boston, Massachusetts, 5 of the most common myths about menopause that I discuss with my patients and break down every single day. And these are really important because it is these myths, I believe, that perpetuate the idea that menopause is suffering and menopause is normal, is natural, it's just kind of something you need to stick through and suffer it out. So the very first myth number 1, is that menopause lasts for 1 year. That menopause is just sort of this one quick moment in time where you have symptoms, and then after that, you go back to being normal. Well, wouldn't that be great if that were the case? But unfortunately, that's not true. So the average age of menopause, at least in the United States, is 51 and a half years of age. Some women are a little bit younger, some women are a little bit older. But if you're somewhere in your late 40s to early 50s, you fall in that normal bell curve. Now, the average length of symptoms is 5 to 7 years, not 1 year. Now, where does this 1 year come from? I'm not totally sure. So I guess maybe it comes from the definition of menopause, which is 1 year of no periods. So after 1 year of no periods, people can say you're postmenopausal. And then once you're postmenopausal, you're always postmenopausal. And that's sort of where that 1 year comes in. But again, symptoms last on average 5 to 7 years. So if you are really suffering, then you do want to seek counseling and support from your internist, your OBGYN, or better yet, a menopause specialist, someone who has a North American Menopause Society certification. And you can find doctors like that by going to menopause.org and typing in by zip code, and then you can find someone who may be able to surely help you. Some women, a very small percentage of women, suffer for up to 10 years, and an even smaller percentage of women suffer the rest of their lives. So I really want you to know the average length of symptoms is 5 to 7 years. That is myth number 1. Myth number 2 is the deeply rooted idea that hormone therapy is dangerous. Now, I could do a whole video on this, and perhaps I probably will. I actually have a great podcast episode on this. It's called The Safety and Efficacy of Hormones or Hormone Therapy, Reducing Your Fears of Hormone Therapy. You can check that out by going to my podcast, and I will actually link it in the description below if you want to listen to exactly that episode, because this topic in and of itself could take very long to get through. But I want you to know that as most menopause specialists agree, hormone therapy is particularly safe, especially when it is given within 10 years of menopause. It's what we call the timing hypothesis, that there is a window of time in which the benefits greatly outweigh the risks, okay? Now, if you are more than 10 years from menopause, or if you are in your 60s or 70s, it's not that hormone therapy could never be prescribed for you, but it's just a very different conversation of your risks and benefits and your quality of life that you should have with a specialized physician. So if you are within 10 years of menopause, the benefits of hormone therapy greatly outweigh the risks, and particularly if you've had a hysterectomy. So what is a hysterectomy? That's just the surgical removal of the uterus. If you don't have an intact uterus, you do not need to take a progesterone component, because its main role is to protect an intact uterus from uterine cancer. So if you don't have a uterus, you're not going to get uterine cancer. You can take estrogen only, and actually the benefits even more outweigh the risks. So myth number 2, that hormone therapy is dangerous, is absolutely incorrect. Myth number 3 that I see a lot is, why are my symptoms starting while I'm still having periods? So this fun time is more appropriately termed perimenopause. Perimenopause is an extremely difficult time for many women, and is a time leading up to menopause. It's a time leading up to your last period. So typically in perimenopause, women experience erratic or irregular periods, or very infrequent or more frequent periods. So very commonly people will say, patients might say, I'm having a period every 21 days, or I'm having a period once every 3 months, or I'll have one, and then I won't have one for a period of time. So menopause is 12 months of no period, but that time leading up to menopause is called perimenopause. And the symptoms in perimenopause can last anywhere from 1 to 10 years. Somewhere in the middle of that being the most common. So somewhere around several years is pretty common for perimenopause. Now, importantly, symptoms can develop in perimenopause such as hot flashes, night sweats, mood changes. These can all be really common, and they can also be treated. And there's a couple different ways that I can do this, or that your doctor can also do this. But if you're having symptoms, you're not yet menopausal, this is perimenopause, and there are definitely things that you can do to improve your quality of life and improve your overall functionality, because you still have to be working in your career, taking care of your children, taking care of your partner, taking care of your house, and all of those things, okay? Myth number 4, I break down all the time, is that bioidentical is better. So I really want to make sure that we get this straight. Bioidentical is a slang term. It really means that the estrogen component that's being used in the hormone replacement therapy is estradiol. Now, the good news is that there are plenty of FDA-approved estradiol products if you want to take a bioidentical or a more natural type of estrogen. You do not need to get it compounded, and especially myself and other NAMS specialists highly discourage the use of compounded, unregulated therapy, because that's exactly what it is. It's unregulated. There is no good way to tell if you're getting too little or too much of what you need, and those can be very, very dangerous. So bioidentical means that the estrogen component is estradiol, and you can get this at FDA-approved packages at your local pharmacy, CVS or Walgreens, you name it, you can get it at those places. If you're getting something that's compounded, you're most likely getting it from a compounding pharmacy. And I mentioned that there were dangers of having too much or too little of that medication. So if your estrogen and progesterone are in balance and you have an intact uterus, you're at high risk for uterine cancer, which is of course very dangerous. And if you're taking too much testosterone, then you can have super therapeutic levels of testosterone, which I see quite frequently, and symptoms can range from permanent deepening of your voice, permanent enlargement of the clitoris, also known as clitoromegaly. You can have acne so bad that it leaves scarring. You can have hair thinning that leaves male pattern balding. And so these are really important reasons you don't want to have an underdosed or an overdiagnosed, under super therapeutic or too low of a therapeutic level. So you want to make sure those levels are nice and balanced, which we can effectively do with the FDA-approved compounds. I personally, and this is just my personal belief, is that the compounded non-FDA approved medications stemmed from fears that women and society and physicians have over the FDA-approved products, which are much, much safer. Now, there are other estrogens that are not estradiol, such as Premarin, and those are also great medications to use, but some women prefer to use a more natural type estrogen, like estradiol. Oh, excuse me. Okay, on to the last myth. The last myth that I see is concerning why to use testosterone. Testosterone's main role is for women who have low libido. In fact, testosterone is not approved. Testosterone is not used or approved for things like fatigue or muscle mass. Its main role is for libido. Testosterone, unfortunately, is not an FDA-approved product in the United States. So while I just said that medications shouldn't be compounded, unfortunately, testosterone still needs to be compounded or better yet, what I like to use is a 1/10 of the male dose of FDA-approved testosterone for women. as a nice topical application. This should improve libido. If my patient's return and libido is not improved, then we can stop the testosterone replacement because it's not been shown to be helpful to her. I apologize if you stuck with me while I've been coughing because I was on quite a roll and I didn't really want to stop. So thank you for listening in. Those are the top 5 myths that I hear about menopause and the midlife transition that I debunk every single day. I hope that was helpful. Leave me any comments or questions, things that you may have heard, questions that you have about what I've just said, or other common myths that you hear that I can help break down and answer for you. Because this is why I started this channel and I'm so excited. We are just getting started. Have a wonderful rest of the day or evening. You can also check out my website, heatherhirschnd.com for more. And I have an incredible course called The Complete Guide to Menopause. Everything you ever wanted to know your doctor never told you. And I will link that below as well. It is fantastic. You will learn so much about the basic foundation, educational knowledge that you need about menopause and midlife. Have a great, wonderful rest of the day or evening. Bye.